Hey, it's Zax and Jimfro from Ready Check Pull. We got to test one of the bosses of the first raid in Shadowlands, so we're here to break it down for you real quick. The full guide will be out later on, but for now, here's a little preview.
Stone Legion Generals is the second to last boss, so it's probably going to be pretty tough. The idea of the encounter is that you have to fight these two big bad gargoyles at the same time. But there's also a sort of intermission phase that happens a couple of times throughout the fight where the bosses become immune and you have to gather a bunch of red orbs around the platform and bring them to this guy. He removes the boss's immunity and you get right back to fighting. So that's the general layout of the encounter, no pun intended. Now let's get into the details. First of all, the bosses share health and you can keep them stacked the entire fight, cleaving them to your heart's content. Each one of them has 4 abilities and they're pretty easy to deal with on their own, but some of them require some very specific positioning. For the tanks, Grishal has a frontal, so you'll want to keep him faced away from everyone else. You'll also want to taunt swap when Grishal does his knockback in order to keep the bosses stacked. This also allows the tanks to alternate dropping the bleed stacks from Call's tank hit. For the rest of the group, if you get targeted by Grishal's leap, you'll want to move it far away in the exact opposite direction that Grishal is facing. The leap leaves a zone of damage and rocks where he lands, so doing this will leave you more room to work with later on while also having Grishal already facing the correct direction as he runs back to the tank. If you get targeted by Call's blade, you'll want to move it in the same direction as the leaps and stay slightly spread from anyone else that's targeted. The blades will go from the boss to the targeted player and then back to the boss, exploding on every player hit along the way. Melee need to especially watch out for this cast and move to where they won't be hit by the blade. Those are the big positioning things, but there's also more mechanics to deal with. Grishal will occasionally put circles under everyone's feet for a few seconds. You just have to spread out and keep moving to avoid the rock spikes from the circles. Call will occasionally put a debuff on a few random players that does huge raid damage when it expires. Healers need to stagger the dispels on these debuffs in order to deal with the raid damage safely. Which brings me to the last mechanic of this phase. Grishal occasionally puts a curse on a random player. When it expires, everyone in 8 yards is turned to stone and will have to be quickly broken out by their allies. Getting turned to stone removes the bleed applied by Call's blade, so anyone who has the bleed needs to use the curse to remove it. Aside from the bosses getting a damage boost at 20% health, that's everything you need to know for the regular phase of the fight. As for the intermission, at 70 and 40% health, one of the bosses will stop casting and become immune, preventing damage to the other boss while it continues to use abilities. This will start a phase where you have to gather several red orbs around the platform and bring them to Prince Renathal in order for him to break the immunity of the bosses. There's also an ad that spawns that casts the dodgeable frontal. It just needs to be tanked and focus killed while dealing with the active boss's abilities. But that's the fight. I like it. Solid positional requirements, and there's a lot of stuff to do for the tanks, which makes this fight fun in my book.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. Being able to 2-target cleave for basically the entire fight is going to be insane for some specs. This fight didn't quite feel like a second to last boss, but I bet the added mythic mechanics are going to be tough. Not much else to be said for this one, just seems like a solid fight.
Thanks so much for checking out this guide preview of the Stone Legion Generals. We're always looking for more people to test with, so after you've liked the video, make sure you go and join our Discord and send us a message in Shadowlands to get an invite to the Ready Check Pull Guild. Hope to see you in beta. Peace.